Welcome back to the Who's Yanks, where we talk everything Canada soccer and US soccer. Tonight we're going to be continuing with the important dates and events that are going on through 2022, and this is going to be part 2 of the last video. And if you haven't seen part 1, the link will be in the description below. And before we even get into part 2, I do want to go over a couple announcements and reminders. First announcement is apologies for not uploading part 2 or making part 2 immediately after part 1. And unfortunately, a lot of events came up. As you can even change the location. I went back to my home for a little bit, and now I'm back in the apartment for the start of second semester. And so that happened. Break's already over. Unfortunately, went by fast, but it is what it is. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to be able to make videos, but I'm still going to do it my best. So here I am. So that was that announcement. So apologies in advance. I'm going to try and have the rest of the parts, how long it should take, part 1 or part 2, 3, 4, however long it takes, with the important dates. Try and get it all done tonight and upload it tonight. So hopefully you guys can get that. And there's going to be other videos I got to make too, including recent US M&T January camp video in terms of going over the domestic players that have been chosen for that camp, and as well as I want to do a major video with the major transfers that have occurred thus far between the US and Canada, and both their players going to Europe or all that stuff. So I'm trying. There's a lot of videos I've got to make and produce as soon as possible for you guys. So I'm going to try and get on that as part well. And the other reminder I want to do is in this 20-minute video, or in this video, I'm going to try and make it no more than 20 minutes. Remember that 20 minutes is the kind of maximum time I want to aim for in each video. And if it's over 20 minutes, I'm just going to make another part. And that way I don't have to rush through the dates. But at the same time, I don't want to drag on the dates. So I'm going to try and keep at a steady pace here as we go through the dates. And the final reminder I want to say is, keep in mind, I didn't mention this in part 1, but all these dates are TBD, as well as whether they'll occur or not because of COVID, the current pandemic that's going on. So, for instance, one of the events I very well might cover in this video is the US Open Cup, and one of my favorite domestic tournaments of all time. However, it's still pending because of COVID, and it very well could get canceled given how much cases and stuff are rising. So gonna have to keep an eye on that and just see where we go from there. But without me, I think that's all the announcements I have for now. So here we are. We're gonna go start with March 8th through the 10th, which we have, and the 15th and the 17th of March as well. We have CONCACAF Champions League quarterfinals, or the round of 16. So actually, quarterfinals, not the round of 16, because the round of 16 was covered last video. But we do have CONCACAF Champions League, the return of CCL, and you got to go see part 1 to mention once again for a reminder of MLS teams that have had it. We have CF Montreal from winning the Canadian Championship, beating Toronto FC. Sour taste in my mouth, given that I'm a TFC fan, but hey, it is what it is. We were building, and we're going to come back stronger next year. And then we got the New England Revolution getting the Supporters Shield. Then you got NYCFC winning MLS Cup. Then we're going to head out west to Sporting Kansas City, I believe. No, Colorado Rapids. Colorado Rapids have won the West, the Western Conference before making the playoffs last year. So that earned them a ticket into CCL. And then finally, Seattle Sounders are back again. It looks like they're going to have their rematch against the team that knocked them out. I'm forgetting them at the moment, but I remember Montagua, CF Montagua. They're going to have their rematch, and then if you remember that penalty shootout, it was a dreadful ending for Seattle, but Seattle will have a chance to recover and kind of take vengeance, hopefully, against the Honduran side, I believe. So we'll see if that happens. It might happen in this window, March 8th to 10th and 15th to 17th, home and away legs. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But that's CONCACAF Champions League, CCL. Looking forward to that as always. Hopefully this is the year that MLS side, or even the CPL Hamilton, I've got to mention them. Forge is also in this for their awesome performance in the Canadian Premier League or the CPL. So keep an eye on them too. Don't sleep on Forge, as they could also upset some teams in this too. And both of the Canadian sides, as a reminder, like CF Montreal and Forge, have Mexican opponents. Santos Laguna and I'm forgetting the other one, but they do have Mexican opponents that they have to begin with. So it's going to be tough, but we'll see if they can get it done. So that's CTO. Next date, we have a TBD, MLS Next debut player pathway. So This is not really a date, but it's still significant to the likes of U.S. and Canada soccer. As remember, we have with the MLS Next Pro, we have young players coming out of these MLS academies that could be both American and Canadian. And we look at Ricardo Pepi and Ira Canola, both U.S. and Canada respectively, came from the absolute, the rankings or the depths and the really process of this. So it's glad to see him. Look where they're at now. Or eventually he's going to make a move to Europe, but unfortunately he had an injury during ending the season last year with his ACL. So hopefully he'll bounce back and then he'll make his move to Europe for Canada. But Ricardo Pepi, obviously he came up through the MLS Next program, then went to FC Dallas, awesome talent there, and then made the move recently, which I'll cover in the transfer windows, to one of the German Bundesliga sides. So they're just two of the products of the many that I believe are coming for both the U.S. and Canada in terms of this talent that's going on, this generational talent. And I'm really, really looking forward to that. So I would say keep an eye on the MLS Next Pro debuts for the player pathway to see who of both American and Canadians will stand out and possibly lead another generation. So keep an eye on that, even though it's TBD. So we'll find out when the tides get closer to that, and of course if the pandemic allows. March 11th, USL Championship season begins. Once again, it's second tier American soccer. So the USL, you have a couple interesting teams there, but I'm not going to dwell on this a lot. But it is US soccer related. But so hopefully there'll be like a couple, like Jonathan Gomez for Louisville SC. He is one of the major standouts, if not one of the best players in the league. Both U.S. and Mexico eligibility, but he played with the U.S. again, their friend against Bosnia and Herzegovina last December. And so we're looking forward to see who else can pop out of the USL. It's a rising league for sure, but it's still going to take some time. But I think MLS obviously is still superior and it's still the top of the top for American soccer, the top flight, as they would say. But USL, I need to start paying attention to that too, because that's also where you can have a lot of your young players come from your academies and really develop. So I can't sleep on that, and neither should you. So you don't have to be dedicated, but I would say just at least keep a tab on it, just like the MLS Next Pro debuts. So that's pretty much March 11th. I don't have really much to say about keeping an eye on that. And then we go to March 21st through the 30th. We have the final FIFA World Cup qualifying window for CONCACAF and for U.S. and Canada. And this will decide if they haven't already, who will go to Qatar this November and December for the 2022 World Cup. And once again, the U.S. and Canada have to get business done. And as I said in the last video, this month actually, at the end of this month, January 27th to February 2nd, and the next to last CONCACAF World Cup qualifying window. Canada and USA play each other as a reminder, so that'll be a neutral video. This jersey will be worn as a purple for neutral, and I'll be giving my takes on both sides. But in the March window, basically, we'll just be see who can close out strong. U.S. will be playing Mexico to end that one, I know for a fact, and then Canada will be playing, I'm pretty sure, similar teams of similar caliber, or teams that will might give them a challenge if they don't take them seriously. So it's important and crucial for both the USA and Canada to close out both this window with wins and secure their spot if they didn't do it somehow already in January for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar this November. So I can't put any more emphasis on that, but they have to have a strong performance if we want to see both teams in the World Cup this fall and the winter. So definitely keep an eye on those dates for March 22nd, March 21st to the 30th. So we have that. But also, same time, we go to our next event, which is going to be running concurrent, but shorter time. Looks like the opening stages of from March 22nd to 23rd, we have the opening stages of my favorite Lamar U.S. Open Cup. And I really, really hope this year it's not going to be canceled due to the pandemic, as this is like the American equivalent of I'm forgetting the cup at the moment, but it's like the American equivalent of the cup in England, where you have all these small teams and they can they have a chance to beat prim teams and Arsenal, and all those teams. The EFL Cup, I think it is. That's what it is. EFL Cup. Hope I got that right. But yeah, that's like it's American equivalent to the EFL Cup. You have all these third, second, and even fourth tier American clubs competing against MLS sides, and often every year we have upsets. Like in 2019, there was New Mexico United from I believe the USL. They have their great one. They beat FC Dallas in their first one. I think before that though, they beat Colorado Rapids, and then after that they beat Minnesota United. Or no, they didn't beat Minnesota United, but they put up a decent fight for 5 minutes, and Minnesota just kicked open the door and ran them into the ground. Final score 6-1 Minnesota. But even then, look, New Mexico United had an awesome run, and that's what makes this tournament so fun. You know, you have all these small, unheard of club teams in America, and they often are not always upset these MLS sides. Like in 2017 or 2016, one of those years, FC Cincinnati upsetting both the Columbus Crew, starting the Hell is Real derby. They fired the first shots there. Then the Chicago Fire, putting out the fire there, and then New York Red Bulls. They almost put up a good fight, but then they lost 2-0, I believe, to the New York Red Bulls. But look, they ended up making MLS, although they're not doing so hot right now. But still, they're in MLS now because of they recognize they just built a soccer community in Cincinnati, and that's also what I like to see. I like to see just the rise of American soccer communities. We gotta raise the sport in that country. You know, it's just always good to see it. You know, so U.S. Open Cup, always good. Really hope this year it's back. Hope the pandemic does not cancel it yet again, because we haven't had it since 2019. So if it's canceled this year, that'll be 3 straight years, or 2 or 3, one of those. Either way, a long time in my book that we haven't had this. So please, I really hope to have it this year, but we can only hope, right? So that's the U.S. Open Cup beginning rounds, March 22nd through 23rd, and given that it's going to have take place during the World Cup qualifying window, we might see a lot of domestic and really true U.S. players based in there that we have not heard of or seen before, which make the tournament even more fun. You got U.S. Open Cup, you got U.S. players. You might not have your DPs, right? Because it's, well, at least for North America, I think Europe and a couple other countries might be done by then. I think Europe's already done with their World Cup qualifying, but either way, we just got to keep an eye on that and just see what kind of players will be playing for these MLS teams, whether it be American players or even other players from other countries that we've never heard of. So that also makes the tournament fun. So let's keep an eye on that. And then we go to our next date, April 1st. We have the final draw for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. So that's for all the teams that have already qualified. However, during this time, it's going to be interesting as the playoff teams like New Zealand and other countries, like even Portugal or Italy, maybe, depending on when they finish up, we might not know who's in. So we're not going to get the whole picture. You know, we might not know who's in for sure, as we're still going to have some of the playoff teams, especially in CONCACAF. Whoever gets 4th place there, we might not know if they're going through or if they've been eliminated. So that's going to be an interesting draw in Doha, Qatar. So keep an eye on that, and hopefully, fingers crossed, both the U.S. and Canada are in the World Cup at this point. But they've got to do some work if they want to get there. So that's April 1st, final draw. We just, nothing really significant. Besides, we won't really know the whole story, given that the playoff teams are still playing. So not a whole lot there. But next day, literally April 2nd, once again, it's USL related, USL League One, which I don't know, I forgot the difference between USL and USL League 1 and 2. I thought USL as a whole was beginning, but this time it's USL League 1 season begins. So once again, 2nd to 3rd tier American soccer. Good to see. Well, not really kind of significant to watch, although if you're interested into USL, I say you should highly watch it. It is a growing league, and as I said earlier in the video, you got young talents like Jonathan Gomez who are rising and are soon might very well enter MLS or even further beyond in Europe. So we can only keep an eye there. And but that season begins on April 2nd. I really don't have a lot to say there besides, as I said in the earlier video, make sure if you have any player, we should just keep any tabs open to see who possibly of significance will be playing. So that's April 2nd. Then we're April 5th to the 7th and also 12th to the 14th. We have CONCACAF Champions League semifinals. Um, Once again, CCL fever. At this point, it may be MLS versus Liga MX, or even, who knows, CPL is going to be in there with Hamilton. So we have to keep an eye on that. But either way, CCL will be back. Hopefully, MLS and even CPL had some upsets and really, maybe, hopefully, this is somebody's year in North America outside of Mexico that will win the the CCL. Whether it be Hamilton, Montreal from Canada, whether it be the Canadian clubs, or whether it be any of the 5 American clubs. We just got to see, but hopefully it's somebody, one of the U.S. and Canada's year for winning CONCACAF Champions League. I mean, because the U.S. or MLS in general came close, but no cigar. LAFC, Toronto FC until Josie Altidore blasted that last penalty shot against Guadalajara in the space, and that was literally frustrating. Montreal, way back, also came close, but other than that, there's no other team that I can remember that since I started really following MLS and soccer in general that has really put up a fight or really tried to come close to winning the whole thing rather than LAFC. Of course, LAFC being the most recent one in 2020, although that was, you could put an asterisk next to that one because that's, obviously during the pandemic and all games were in Orlando, so technically LAFC had a home advantage, quote unquote, but they didn't have to go down to Mexico. But now with the home and away legs, teams will be going back down to Mexico as we saw last year, and they didn't quite do so well. Columbus Crew got knocked out in Monterrey. Toronto obviously didn't live up to Cruz Azul, and then Portland Timbers came close to, but no cigar to Club America, and then Philadelphia Union Club America. I didn't even pay attention to that one because I already knew what was going to happen. So, and Atlanta United, of course, got knocked out by fellow MLS club Philadelphia Union. So, a little MLS versus MLS action there last year, but hopefully somebody's year besides any of the Mexican teams that will win this thing. So, let's keep an eye on that for that day. Once again, April 5th to the 7th, as well as 12th to the 14th for home and away legs. And then April TBD, we have the Canadian Premier League. The CPO begins here. Once again, asterisk, if COVID or the pandemic does not ruin it. So, once again, in the CPO story has it today that Windsor and Essex down by Detroit is trying to get a team into the CPO. So, if they do, that would be fantastic, as once again, the league is still expanding. And I've always liked to see the expansion of leagues, whether it be Canada or the USA, just to show that the sport is growing in both countries. And the CPO, once again, you have rising talent there that will soon hopefully make their way into MLS or even Europe, as well as even the league will just continue to grow and become one of the top in North America with Liga MX and MLS. So I just want to see the CPO continue to grow. They're doing a great job. All credit, give credit where it's due, and hopefully they continue to grow. Don't stop. So great work to the CPL and all the commissions that's going on down there. So we just got to keep making sure they do what they do. And then I have time to talk about one more, I believe, and we're going to end with CCL. So April 26th to the 28th and May 3rd to the 5th, we have CONCACAF Champions League final, the championship match, or matches. As this time we do have a home and away leg rather than a one-off decider, which players should MLS make it, they will have to go to, I'm assuming, Mexico if the Mexican team gets us that far, and then they'll have to play in, or it could be Canada. Either way, it's home and away, depending on where they're at. So we'll see by this point. Does MLS still put up a fight against Liga MX, or who knows, or even the surprise CPL team, Hamilton Forge, makes way during this part. So once again, no one knows. We just got to watch this tournament. Remember, wild stuff always happens. We got scruffles, dirty tackles, like last year, Philadelphia Union and Saprissa. That was brutal. But good and well there's going to be that again. It's all part of the fun and games in CONCACAF, right? And there's even a verb for it called getting CONCACAF. So I mean, you know what's going to happen. We all know what's going to happen. But we can only just sit and watch. So, just ending the video on that note, we got CCL League, the ends, the Champions League, and by then we will know who will go to the Club World Cup in the fall or maybe even the summer, depending on when it is. So, for that, I pretty much don't have anything to say besides you just got to watch it. So, but I am going to end the video there. So, when we come, part 3 will begin with the UEFA Champions League final in St. Petersburg, Russia. But that's for part 3. But if you like part 2, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe. Tell it with all your friends. Share it with them. And tell all your friends to keep taking notes of these dates. I think you're going to like them, as well as I think they're going to like them too.